Alright guys, welcome back to another one. So I want to talk about Lost Soul Aside as the game has continued to improve since I last talked about it in September. Since then, about 4 updates have been applied, with the most recent one being the biggest yet, adding in a new piece of content. This game received a lot, and I mean a lot of criticism upon launch. It ended up reviewing at a 62 over on Metacritic with a 5.9 user score. For a lot of people, this didn't turn out to be the experience they were hoping it would be. A lot of this though seems to stem from development issues. The development period of Lost Soul Aside was absolutely a rocky one, with internal conflicts, trying to overachieve, and also just a lack of experience for the type of game that the studio was trying to make as the very first debut title. If you want to learn more about Lost Soul Aside's development history, I have a video going over that, link in the description down below. But even with all of the negativity surrounding this game, the devs have made it their focus to improve just the general experience and the feel of this title. A lot of the issues and the feedback that people have given towards this game since it first launched, the devs have been actively paying attention to and have since addressed. For example, stuff like combat sound effects. When the game first released, there was this severe lack of impact and weightiness to the combat sound effects, which definitely hindered the combat system of this game, and since then, these have been improved.
We're being targeted. I'll show you what I'm made of!
Even though it's only been 3 months, there is an entire list's worth of various different changes, bug fixes, general performance improvements, and actual quality of life updates that have improved the experience of this game. And for that, I actually admire the devs. Now, I don't think that there is going to be one fix in here that is going to completely overhaul and revamp Lost Soul Aside. For that, you would need to take the experience and what you learned from the first game and apply that into the sequel. But just judging by the reception of this first game, will a sequel ever happen? I'm kind of doubtful at this point. And it's already been mentioned that Ulti-Zero plan on making a Souls-like title as their next project. Still, Lost Soul Aside now in November of 2025 is a better product than it was when it released at the end of August. So what exactly does this big new update include? Well, first is a brand new game mode that is accessed from the main menu known as the Surge of Void Drax. This is pretty much Lost Soul Aside's version of Devil May Cry's Bloody Palace. You've got waves of enemies that go all the way up to wave 100. With every 10 rounds, you verse a boss. In this mode, all 4 weapons are already unlocked with all of their upgrades applied, and after each wave you'll gain gold, which can then be spent at Liana's shop to purchase things like new weapons, trinket accessories, items, and Void Drax abilities. You'll also gain more gold depending on how you perform in each wave. For example, if you don't take any damage, then you'll be awarded bonus gold. And hey, look at that, the style meter that was originally supposed to be in the game that we saw from some early gameplay has returned for this new mode. Getting to wave 100 is actually kind of challenging and will offer almost about 2 hours of additional playtime. This is great because this is the sort of thing that players were wanting for Lost Soul Aside, considering that the best aspect of this game is its combat system. So just like Bloody Palace in Devil May Cry, this is a really good test of your expertise towards this game's combat system, to put everything you learned from the base game into effect here. This is kind of the game's ultimate challenge. For every 10 waves you've completed, you'll be awarded the new Platinum card item, which will transfer over into the main game, which can now be spent to craft brand new cosmetic items. There's a lot of new outfits and weapon cosmetics mechanics that have been added in this update, which is great as I feel the game was sort of lacking in the cosmetic department, and this is just something extra to earn in this new mode. You can save your progress throughout Surge of Void Drax and return at any point. Also, if you die on a wave, you can reattempt. It's not like you get thrown back to wave 1. I feel like this is the exact kind of additional content that Lost Solarcide needed. Also, I was just not expecting any additional actual content to be added into this game, so it is nice to see. But another major update here is the cinematic narrative upgrade. Enhanced facial animations across most cutscenes for more lively and authentic emotional expression. Global lighting has also been improved in cutscenes to apparently heighten atmosphere and narrative impact. And apparently the devs have optimized the character gazes and dialogue camera angles, added ambient talk, lip sync animations to boost the overall immersion. Now, one of the things that I criticized Lost Solarcide for was its very, in some cases, amateur feeling, stiff and awkward cutscenes when it comes to the character animations, and this on top of the voice acting for the game, which is understandable given that this is a Chinese game, so this was developed in mind with the Chinese language and then English second. But overall, the cinematic sort of story aspect of Lost Solarcide is just, it's flat out not good. Now, while voice acting will never change, it's not like they're going to rehire a bunch of new voice actors, stuff like animations can be improved. And it's very interesting to see the unpatched version of the game versus the build with this most recent patch. And while I won't say that this is a complete overhaul to the cutscenes and the story aspect of Lost Solarcide, it's very obvious the changes that we have going on here. Number one is the lighting for a start. Here in town, there is now this like green filter or tinge that's going on, which is an interesting change. Some people are gonna like this, other people won't. This sort of reminds me of the murky filter that's over Resident Evil 5. So for some reason they decided to slap that on there. But also camera angles. Throughout a lot of the cutscenes in the game now, we have completely different camera angles for the cutscenes. Along with that, the awkward facial animations. Now they haven't been completely fixed. I think like they still look very awkward most of the time, but hey, they're better than they were. And also the changes to the global lighting isn't just applied to cutscenes, even though it just mentions cutscenes here. Global lighting has also been applied while you're in combat as well, as you can clearly see between the patched and unpatched version. It looks a lot better here in the patched version. I tried my best to notice if the lip sync animations across the board have been changed. It's not like I went through the entire game, so maybe doing a complete playthrough I'd be able to notice this, but lip sync animations to me more or less kind of just look the same, whether it be in cutscenes or during environmental interaction. What I did notice though is the camera angle for environmental interactions here has actually been brought back. Obviously this is going to be a change that you'll either love or hate. Some people are going to prefer the closer up camera angle, some people will prefer the more wide camera angle. There's some other smaller changes here, like being able to skip the prologue upon starting a new game. This means that you skip the introductory segment with all of the cutscenes and the kid being yeeted and get chucked straight into the underground portion of the city where you meet Arena, throwing you straight into combat. There's now this new system known as Void Drax Pathfinder. This basically just streamlines mini games. For people that are stuck on mini games, you can now just auto-complete them. It also mentions here that puzzle and mini games have been enhanced and optimized for smoother, more intuitive gameplay. Honestly, I don't know what that actually means. That's incredibly vague, but apparently the puzzles and mini games throughout the game have been improved in some aspect. Another change that's left me scratching my head is the adjustment to platforming difficulty across the first 4 chapters. I'm not sure if this means that they've maybe changed some of the platforms, added in some additional ones. What is known is the actual jumping mechanic has been improved since the game first launched, so platforming, jumping, exploring throughout Lost Solarcide now feels a lot better than it did when the game first released. This was within an update that was applied a couple months ago, so I'm not too sure what the changes here are to the platforming in regards to platforming simplification. Again, I might need to do a complete playthrough to notice the difference of what's being changed here, but apparently this has been improved. And custom button mapping thing has been added into the settings menu, so now you can make your totally own custom control scheme. If you want a control scheme like Devil May Cry, then go hard. Also, for any Steam Deck enthusiasts out there, Steam Deck support was also added in to this update, so now Lost Soul Aside fully supports Steam Deck. That's all of the new stuff that was added in the most recent update. Of course, all of this on top of what's already been changed, fixed, and applied does make for a slightly more refined feeling experience. If you have been thinking about playing Lost Soul Aside but you've just simply been putting it off, now's a pretty good time to jump in with all of these changes that have been made. The price of the game has come down. We've also got Black Friday coming up, as well as Christmas sales. I think at its core, if you're just paying attention to this game's combat system, it is actually pretty good. It is fun. It does offer some depth for those who are looking for it, who like hack and slash action games. As I was saying in my first review, I don't think this game is anywhere near a full price title, and that's where a lot of the issues actually stem from. This originally should have had a AA price tag, but I'm assuming because PlayStation are the publishers, and of course they did financially assist Ulti-Zero Games, they are wanting to recoup a lot of the money spent on that studio. So I'd say that Lost Soul Aside at this point is worth it, so long as you're most certainly not paying full price. It'll be interesting to see what the devs do next, if they're going to continue to apply updates and refinements to the game to improve it furthermore. I'm certainly not expecting a DLC. Hell, I was surprised to see an additional mode added into the game for free. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, I don't think it would be profitable for the developers to spend time developing additional content for this game, as I don't think many people would end up buying it. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's video. Be sure to slippity slap that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Big thanks to my wonderful patrons and YouTube members. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and we'll talk again real soon.